Not to say there aren't spells you want to counter, but you prefer to Pact of Negation them as opposed to the Force of Will. Just because the pitching of a card is actually a pretty big cost for High Tide.
The counter spell should only be really relevant on the turn that you're going off anyway.
Right. So like the counter spells are typically used offensively. The only the only good defensive counter spell.
You don't really want to waste your time counterspelling, for example, an Inquisition of Kozilek.
So what we have from the Tide player, he has the Spiral. He has a Spiral and a Tide. The Tide was taken. 2 Ponders and a Force of Will. So the Force of Will is a pretty dead card here. Now, and Stephen Green is going to be playing in the dark a little bit here. He's not playing any Jataxian probes, so when he chooses to go off, he will be in the dark about it.
Another Ponder again. There's the Pact of Negation you mentioned earlier, but he doesn't like it.
So interestingly enough, he chooses. Yeah, he's not taking a Pact of Negation. I think he really wants to find another High Tide. Pact, I think, would actually be an okay take here because he can ditch the other 2 lands by virtue of the fetch land.
Yeah.
Against Stoneblade, you're not caring so much about the speed of your combo. You're trying to set up a board state where maybe you have 5 lands and you go just Tide, Spiral, nothing else, and then you have maybe 3 Pacts in your hand. That would be like your ideal combo turn.
So Stephen Green shuffled off the Ponder, and I believe he drew a Cunning Wish. Shaheen, Tundra, Brainstorm. And he's going to try to craft his hand to defend himself against a potential combo turn.
He's drawn a Deathrite Shaman, which I would like to see come into play here. Shaheen, especially after seeing Steven's hand, doesn't have to worry about a turn 3 kill from Steven. The turn 3 kill would only happen... I mean, the turn 3 kill is typically only a Tide turnabout Spiral hand, and isn't even a very good thing to go for a Tide player. Inquisition.
So another Cutting Wish. There's 2 Cutting Wishes now.
Maybe it wasn't Deathrite. Maybe it was Inquisition that he had drawn. So.
Yeah, based on the artwork, I think that could be the case.
So now we're down to 2 Cunning Wishes. So let's take a look over in the wish board for Stephen Green. He has some of the standbys that one he may really want to use here is he has Meditate. And I think that's probably his best wish target. Other things that he has Wipe Away, a Turnabout, and he has put Intuition in the board. That's typically used for finding finding Spiral.
Okay. Yeah.
He may also, if he fears Surgical Extraction, it's possible he's moved one of his High Tides into the wish board so that he can't get Surgical out of the game. Stephen Green drawing a land, and that's just fine for him.
Shaheen going for the Intuition. Steven Snap forces that.
Yeah, I'm not
Doesn't want to let him free tutor.
Yeah, the free tutor may... I'm not sure actually what it would have been for in this situation.
Whatever it was, Stephen Green didn't like it.
Yeah, that it has...
But now his shields are down. Shaheen... No 4th land for the Jace.
He's going to fetch for what appears to be a main phase spell. Maybe an end step, probably an end step Cunning Wish. Just gonna fetch on end step. So he's drawn a Merchant Scroll, which will likely. Let's see. So Snapcaster, Brainstorm, and end step by Shaheen. Sometimes in these matchups, watching on camera, it's a little hard to tell what phase you're in. Scroll can find anything. It's typically, in this situation, will want to find a High Tide for Stephen Green, as he's missing one right now.
Right, and how he uses the Cunning Wish may depend on, as you said, whether he moved the High Tide into a sideboard. Moved one of them in.
So what would likely happen is that one of those 2 cards, he wants to find a Pact of Negation, and the other one he'd like to have find a High Tide. Which is not just like earlier in the game, that Pact of Negation, though, was a little awkward. It's probably something he wanted to keep. 4th land, Shaheen's going to Surgical.
Draw step Surgical.
Targeting, presumably, the High Tide. So, this is the kind of moment, if this resolves, Shaheen should only be finding 3 High Tides in here. If he's finding 4 High Tides, that will be fairly uncomfortable as Steven is pretty much out of the game if that happens.
And this is the thing about that force of will that he fired off almost immediately on the intuition last turn.
Right.
What are you most afraid of him intuitioning for?
Right.
Isn't it surgical? So just let him get the surgicals, put 2 of them in his graveyard if he's got 3, and counter that
instead. There's no one card that if you know, say for like Lingering Souls, a lot of decks would want to counter intuition because they really wouldn't want you to intuition for 3 Lingering Souls.
Right.
But
High Tide doesn't
have
care.
that fear. Alright, so that should work, and unfortunately, he's going to get a High Tide out of... No, he's not going to get one out of Green's hand. Alright, so, kind of a moment of truth. How many is Shaheen going to find in the deck?
And it looks like it was going to be all 4.
Yep, okay, so Steven Green is conceding to it. So yeah.
I had the Jace too, still had all these.
So yeah, Steven Green defeated 2 games 0 by Shaheen Soorani. I suppose that's a little bit of